Hi, good morning. It's Jim from the maverickstar Observatory. Guys, I'm sitting here at 5:40 in the morning. I'm just watching the moon over there out the window, and I can see Venus, I think it is, above the moon's surface. And, I've also been reading through some of the comments of yesterday's video. Very interesting times we're in. People's minds are all over the place. And, I can present some really interesting facts which I think is of beneficial to you people, but in some people's ears they just hear static. I'm sure they do, and in other people's ears, they're obviously switched on and paying attention to what I'm saying. Just over the last couple of videos, and we're going to talk about one of the comments in the video yesterday, in particular, the one that said not one mention about the sun going through its solar magnetic reversal. We're going to get to that, right? But I just want to give you a little disclaimer here. Yeah, I just want to say this. You know what? I can present the facts. Whether you choose to accept them or not is entirely up to you. You're an individual, you're an adult, and if you don't like some of the facts we present, then I don't care. And if you don't like some of the things we talk about on this channel, simply unsubscribe. But don't be abusive to me in the comment section, because you're just going to get kicked and you ain't going to be allowed to come back. Simple as that. Okay, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. If you want to look out of a nice clear piece of glass, then I suggest you don't buy obscured glass. If you want a particular type of battery, then I suggest an electric one is good. What else? I could go on. If you want nice journey in your car, then don't put square wheels on it. The round ones are the best. You get the picture. Yeah. Now, with regards to the comment that was made, why haven't you mentioned like NASA are coming out with in saying, with the solar constant at the moment going through its magnetic reversal, why haven't you mentioned anything? Well, have you been paying any attention to the sunspots over the last 12 months? I've said this time and time again. The position of the sunspots tells us exactly what phase our sun's in the solar cycle. And I just want to bring your attention to, the couple of sunspots, or the sunspot that was mentioned and brought to everybody's attention this month, if you've been paying attention to it. And look at where it is. It's not equatorial, which is very odd, because if we are at the end of a solar cycle and it is going through a magnetic reversal, then why is the sunspots not equatorial on the disk? We can work out where the sun is in its solar cycle just by looking at the position of the sunspots themselves. If they're 30 degrees south or north, that shows us that it's closer to being in a solar maximum. If it's equatorial, then it's solar minimum. But look where the sunspot is. It's more to 30 degrees south than it is equatorial. So I very much doubt the sun is about to go through a magnetic reversal. And if NASA are coming out and saying that, then they might be trying to cover something up. Now, I do bring some facts to the table here on this YouTube channel. And we have got a dedicated website specifically on the pole reversal, which nobody else seems to be talking too much about from these mainstream organisations. You're going to ask the question, why is that? But first, I want to just deal with the sunspots and the position of the sunspots right now to clear up a fact. Yeah. So we're looking at two pictures of the disk in 2000 and 2009, and we're going to have a look at where those dates are on the solar cycles chart in a second. But look at what I'm talking about, guys. On solar maximum, you have a lot of sunspots, and they're at 30 degrees north, 30 degrees south. Very few are equatorial, right? At the moment, in March, we had one sunspot which was not equatorial, and that tells us that according to the position of the sunspots, something that we've known about the sun for hundreds of years now of solar observations, that when the sunspots are equatorial, it is likely going through a reversal, a magnetic reversal. But that sunspot is not equatorial. Yes, there are a few sunspots, and we've had very few sunspots over the last 12 months. But let's just look, just to first of all confirm what we're talking about here. So we're talking maximum in 2000, minimum in 2009. So if we go up here, we have a look at where 2000 is. We can see that the sun cycle of 23 is at maximum. 2009, it's at minimum. So I've proved my point where the position is of the sunspots. But NASA, if you don't believe me, have got a video that shows you this in itself. In fact, if you go to our learning centre on poleshiftnews.com, you will find that video that NASA put out explaining sunspots and the sunspot positions. Right, now the other thing is we are getting very few sunspots. Yet, you know, NASA are claiming that we are going to go through a magnetic reversal, which I find strange because there has been some solar physicists, I think, that work in the Goddard Space Centre or Observatory or whatever department of NASA that is, that have came out and told us that we're already in solar cycle 25. How can that be if the sun hasn't gone through its reversal? Usually after the reversal, the next solar cycle starts. So, you know, there is a lot of questions to be asked about some of the information that is coming out of NASA right now. First of all, the sunspots aren't in the locations where they're supposed to be. Second of all, you shouldn't be calling a new solar cycle until after the reversal of the old cycle. And thirdly, let's not forget what we're looking at right here. 3 consecutive solar cycles diminishing, cycle after cycle, indicating that the sun is going into an all-time low with regards to solar production. And it should concern you, because if we do not have regular sunspot activity and strong cycles, you know, in the maximum periods of the cycles, then we will have a weakened heliosphere. And the heliosphere is like the Earth's magnetic field that protects us, the magnetosphere. Only the heliosphere expands usually out beyond our solar system, pushes all that cosmic radiation away. And yet, at this moment in time, and for the last 3 cycles, as you can see, the sunspots have been weakening. And I've pointed this out even to the point at solar cycle 24, we are getting more cosmic radiation inbound in our solar system than what we usually do. If I can just find a particular chart that shows you something very interesting. It's like I say, I can bring you these facts. You know, it is entirely up to you what you want to do with them. If after this you want to go and watch PewDiePie, is it, then that's your prerogative. I don't really care. If you are a supporter of the observatory here, then great. If you're not, and you're never going to be, then, you know, I really don't care. I don't anymore. You know, I've tried to keep what we've been doing here on, you know, some what's the word I'm looking for, concise pattern, if you want, and show people some facts that they're not getting clearly from the organisations that should be producing the information themselves and telling you guys. Anyhow, you can see that when we have a solar minimum, the cosmic rays increase, and I showed you that solar cycle 24 did not, even at maximum, push out the cosmic radiation or inflate the heliosphere enough to push out that cosmic rays during that point in time. Whereas if we look at other solar cycles, they have been marginally, you know, at least for the last 3 cycles, marginally enough to push them out at maximum. So we are going through some very strange times with regards to the sun and its activity at the moment. Okay, you know, and you know, I think the only thing we can do is just observe for now, and then you know, make some suggestions based on the data that we have observed. It's like everything else, you know. So that's it in a nutshell. The other comment I remember from the other day on our comment section was what was it now? It stood out. Let me just think about that. What was it, that comment? Yes, that's what it was. Someone said, you know, you've been recording the data. with regards to the magnetosphere strength for nearly 2 years now, and yet suspicious observers is coming out telling everyone that it's weakening and it's weakening. Well, I'm not going to get into, you know, debates with other YouTubers. I've got the data from my own magnetosphere sensor, and in a couple of days' time we'll have a look at what's been going on with that. But it has been consistent over the last 2 years, and that person that put the comment was right there to say that, yeah, you know, from what we've recorded, we haven't measured nothing really in comparison with any severe drops in the magnetosphere strength over the last 2 years. But that doesn't mean it can remain the same like it is. You know, I believe perhaps when we get closer to the pole reversal, at that point we will see some shifts in the magnetosphere, and if it does go into that reversal, then I believe you know, that's the time when we're going to start to see the magnetosphere drop dramatically. How much it'll drop is only anyone's best guess, because nobody has got any recorded data on a magnetic reversal or what happens other than what we've seen stored in, you know, the rocks as the magnetite in the rocks has solidified around these volcanic trenches. You know, one in particular, the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, you know, as we see solidify and set, that's the only real data that we've got other than, you know, volcanic flows showing us, you know, a bit of information there. It's really anyone's best guess as to how much the magnetosphere collapses. We might, like some other solar scientists and, you know, geological physicists have said, you know, we might see at that point many poles on the Earth form before it goes through a reversal, and it could be an excursion. We've got to not outrule that. We know there's been many excursions since the major reversals that have taken place. I'm just saying and bringing something to your attention here, guys, which I think is very important, and that is, it is overdue 500,000 years. The Earth used to go through a magnetic reversal, according to the data that we've got, based on these Atlantic ridges, volcanic eruptions. It used to go through a reversal every 300,000 years or so, regularly, up until this last time, where it's for some reason taken another 500,000 years. Now, does that mean something in our core itself is solidifying? It could be, and that could mean, you know, that we, like I've said many times, could end up looking like Mars. You know, I'm not trying to fear people into supporting this observatory. Yeah, I'm just giving you the scenarios that are likely, and if you think it's not likely, then just have a look at Mars's surface. You know, there is evidence of a planet that lost its magnetosphere for some reason, and when it did that, it lost its atmosphere and the water on its planet as a result, through, first of all, what NASA claim as a term sputtering, where the ionisation of its upper atmosphere gets stripped off. That is a real reality of what could happen to our planet, and that is really why, you know, I'm so interested in this. But you know what I get accused of, guys, a lot of the time? I get accused of bringing other things into the subject, and how could I not mention COVID-19? How could I not mention that at this point in time, where millions of people are losing their jobs, and as a result have got no cash? And you know what? I'm saying to people, help support the observatory here, and we can keep going and doing what we're doing, but I'm getting back at the same time. Are you kidding me? People haven't got a job and they're not able to pay for the bills. You know, I'm the same as anyone else. You know, my livelihood has been affected, my wife's livelihood has been affected, and at the same time, this observatory requires more funding now because of the amount that we do at the observatory than it ever has done. You know, I'm just saying, guys, I know times are tough for us all, but you know, don't let all the work that we've done over the years go to waste as a result of it. And I am tired of people turning around to me in the comments section. You know, I'm going to start blocking them if they mention the word begging, right? What they need is a good slap round their face for saying such a thing, because what we do here is not beg, right? Clearly, beggars do not give nothing back in return for those stupid people that use that term in the first place, right? When you give a beggar money, he don't give you a pile of data back in return. So get serious, just get real with these people. What is wrong with some of these people? You know, it just frustrates me and annoys me that we've got such people in our comment section and on our channel. But I suppose, you know, you are going to drag up certain people like this when you have a subscribing following of about 30,000. You are going to get some delinquents in there that are going to see what we do when we ask for support as clearly nothing more than begging, right? Let's get straight with one thing. It's a publicly funded observatory, yeah? And I've explained why it is better to keep it publicly funded. And let me tell you something now, we do have historical data now going back 3 years with the TriMag system that has recorded the data every 3 seconds, and that would be of importance, I believe, to some mainstream organisations, even though it has come from, you know, a grassroots observatory like ours. I'm sure that with the data that we've got, if we was to present this to some organisations, we could get some backing, and that would mean, you know, we would also have to follow specific guidelines on when we release the data, and that would mean our observatory would be controlled from that point on. So that is why I ask that we keep it crowdfunded. I shouldn't even have to explain this, you know, to people. Getting back to, you know, the other topics which we talk about, I find it worthwhile talking about other topics. Look, I have dedicated a website specifically for the anomalies that are taking place right now, and they are updated religiously by myself here on my own every month on the 17th of every month. You know, we take the data out the TriMag, we put the data up there on the website. You know, we also have maverickstar global data coming from different locations around the world, and we put that data up. It requires a lot of work, not just, you know, collecting the data, processing the data, and then doing all the work on the website. We're also at the same time building state-of-the-art equipment, and, you know, we've taken it a little bit further than what we ever have done with, you know, recently getting a 3D printer so that we can make reasonable quality prototypes. You know, we are always trying to come up with solutions here, guys, to answering the questions. Talking about CO2, I brought the CO2 meter and I demonstrated it yesterday, and something was completely missed in the video that I put up yesterday. Have a guess what that was? I tried to explain to people that 90% of the world has shut down right now, and it would be a great opportunity to take a CO2 reading, which I did, which showed there has been no change in the levels of CO2 despite all the vehicles being pretty much off the road and used limitedly to around about 10%. If you want to look into this, you'll see that the global oil production has dropped to almost 10%. So nobody's producing or pumping out or selling, let's say, more than 10% of the crude oil, simply because there is no freight trains moving, there is no, or very limited, there is hardly any aircraft in the sky, there is hardly any shipping taking place, and you've only got to look out your own front window and you'll see that the amount of traffic going by has reduced. And surely, you know, the amount of CO2 that is not being put into the atmosphere over the last 3 weeks of pretty much a global shutdown would have an impact on the amount of CO2 in the atmosphere, but it didn't. So there is something else taking place with regards to where the CO2 is coming from. Wouldn't you agree with that? We'll just keep an eye on the CO2 over the next few weeks, and we'll take randomly samples of the atmospheric CO2 and see how many parts per million we get. Because if we don't start to see a drop in the CO2 in atmospheric reservoirs of CO2, then we know what the causes and where the causes are. And I think we already know the answers to these questions in any case, and we all know equally that if we have more CO2 in the atmosphere, then the biodiversity of plant species, trees, etc. are going to thrive as a result of that. But you know what? People missed the main point of yesterday's video. They only saw that I was talking about briefly COVID virus. or they only chose to mention that I'd asked for some support for the observatory. Another solution that we came up with recently was the colloidal silver generator. I showed you how simple it was to build yourself, or I even offered you, if you wanted to, means we've got a bit of time here, I could build you one. I'm not going to claim anything with them colloidal silver generators. Yeah, if you don't know what they do, then there's no need for you, obviously, to purchase one. Yeah, do your own research and just consider what times we're in right now. And again, if you want one, just put £80 in the PayPal description. I'll build you one, and you're going to have to pay not for the packaging, but you can pay for just the postage, and I'll build you one, even if you cannot build one yourself. But if you don't know what they're for, then don't bother at all. Do some research. You'll see why it is important to probably have one of those things around right now. What else? So, we've got some strange activities going on with the sun right now. We've got sunspots in the positions of solar maximum, yet we are in a solar minimum, supposedly. We've got NASA coming out saying that, the sun is already in solar cycle 25, yet there hasn't been a completed magnetic reversal. Very strange times we're in. And at the same time, we're all having to put up with this lockdown, which is very frustrating. And I can see that, in the comment section, some people can't hack it. And we're in early days of these things. And what is it going to be like when the Earth really does go through its magnetic reversal? What are people going to be like with each other at that point? Because we're already seeing people, not being supportive, foolishly going out, infecting other people, when, if they was to use a bit of common sense, at least if they have got COVID and they've got to go out, put a face mask on, so that when you cough, or you don't spread your germs and diseases. Simple as that. You're not realising some of these people that think it's a game, that are going out, that there's a lot of people dying as a result of it. The only other thing I'll add to this is, by flattening the curve around the world, every government has tried to flatten the curve, but all they've done is extended this period that this is going to last. Look, if we had a biological physicist or doctor here right now, it'd say, very likely, Gene, you are absolutely correct in what you're saying. The only way you're going to get really the back of this virus out of the way is probably by two means. The virus burns itself out, or the entire population become immune to it. And the only way you can get immunity is if, like our government here in the UK tried to do at first, and then they changed the tactics because they didn't want to be accused of, killing people purposely. But what they tried to do by herd immunisation was infect 90% of the population, get them through it, get the immunisation going in the herd. And to do that, you'd have to have 90% of the population that had caught COVID-19. And the reason probably why they didn't do that is because when they looked at the statistics of people dying, they would have said, okay, if we go for that route, 90% of the population will get it, but 12% of the 90% will die as a result of it. And I think that was a little bit too much for them. The other thing is, they didn't want an overwhelming situation at these hospitals as a result of that. But there you go. So we'll pull the data out of the SD cards in a few days' time. We'll have a look at that. We'll see where we are with the magnetic pole. We'll have a look at the magnetosphere data, but going on the trend of the magnetosphere data, as we can see, I don't think there'll be much changes there. It has been pretty much just moving 2 microteslas up and down frequently throughout month on, month out, and remained where it has since that time. I'm not going to get into slandering or talking about any other YouTuber out there. They can do and say what they want. They've got their followers, and trust me, we've even got a big audience with some of these subscribers, some of these YouTubers that haven't got a clue about what they're talking about. Clearly, when they talk, you can tell from the subject that they're talking about, they haven't got a clue. And I'm going to rub up some people the wrong way now when I mention this, right? You know, do your research on 5G before you start opening your mouth. Do your own research on what it is that 5G is. Have a look at the power that goes into, you know, supplying 5G. Have a look at the frequency that 5G use, and then come to your own conclusion. I'm not going to go there because I'm already satisfied with what I know about 5G, and I'm not going to even mention it. Okay, my point of view, because I'll just get ripped. Okay, but do your own research. Stop following these crankpots on YouTube that are not experts in frequency and transmitters. Okay, just do some research before you start just listening to people talk about it. At least if you do some research, look up the components that are being used, you will find out the truth of the matter. Go and buy yourself an RF meter and go and stand by a transmitter. Yeah, and you'll know the truth about 5G. Or if you really, really want to do something about it and find out the truth, you know, pay me to go and do it. I'll do it, but I ain't going to do it off my own back. I will provide the evidence you want, but you're going to pay me. So if you really are concerned about 5G and you haven't got the incentive to pay somebody else or pay another scientist to do it, right? If you haven't got the incentive to do that, then you really aren't that concerned to start with. And that goes for any other little side end that you want me to do, or another scientist, or if something you're concerned about and you're not prepared to invest in it, then what does that tell you to start with? That you're not that concerned. Use some logical sense. Yeah, but it just frustrates me again, guys. You know, these people talking about 5G like they're experts in it, and clearly they're not. We got some real crankpots in this world that come out and they've been working for these telecommunication companies, and they're coming out with all sorts of stuff, and you think, yeah, I can see why you're not working for that telecommunications company anymore, because you've come to some wild conclusions. And, you know, if you was working for me, I would probably not want you working for me. Yeah, especially if what you were saying was unfounded by any scientific facts. Anyhow, you know, guys, I could go on a rant on that, but I'm not going to. I'm going to say what I usually do. Link down there. Simply, if you want to help support, and we're not begging, right, for your support, we're asking you for your support. The link is there. And other than that, you know, stay safe, guys. Nothing else to say other than what I usually do. Bye for now.